Hi friends, welcome back to Brianna's Bookshelf. So today we are starting out a reading vlog and I'm super excited for this one because I am going to be doing a week of reading dark romance. And I am fairly new to this genre. I've not read a ton of dark romance in the past. And so I'm quite excited to jump a little deeper into it and see if it's a genre that I'm interested in, if I want to try out more, or basically if it's for me. I'll be doing a bit of a dark romance taste test. Just to give you all an idea about my kind of history with dark romance, I want to talk about the books I've already read, of which there are not many. I did read Haunting Adeline last year, I believe, or it might have been the year before. And I feel like at the time that was the dark romance book that was really blowing up and that everyone was reading. So that was kind of my introduction to the genre and pretty much the only book I had tried out. Now I did not enjoy that book. I know that it is super popular. I didn't like it, and the issues that I had with it were not to do with the darkness of the romance. I frankly just did not enjoy the characters or the plot really in that book. So it was quite a disappointment to me, and that kind of put me off of a dark romance for a little while. But a few months ago, I decided to try it out again and tried something a little more niche that I hadn't heard as many people talking about, and that was The Lies We Steal by Monty J. And this is the first in a series that is considered dark romance, and I really liked this. So after reading that, I definitely became interested in kind of reapproaching the genre and testing out some different authors to see what I think and where I might fit into this genre, what is right for me. But with The Lies We Steal, that one had a very different setup and kind of mood than Haunting Adeline. So in that, we are following a group of boys who are kind of like the rich and famous people in this small town, like the founding fathers of the town's sons kind of vibe. And they are all very dark and very disturbed. They all have their own issues. And in that series, we're going one by one, following each guy in a different book. And there is also a kind of gothic university setting. So there's a lot of aspects that I like about that series. An issue I had with Haunting Adeline is the guy kind of made me cringe, to be honest. In The Lies We Steal, I did not feel that way about our main character. I thought he was a lot better written for me personally. And it wasn't too dark, I would say, but there were definitely aspects that were a little crazy, but I had a fun time with it. So my plan for my reading for this week is to try out 3 different books from 3 different authors. Since I did enjoy The Lies We Steal, I do want to continue that series and read the next book, which is The Truths We Burn by Monty J. And since I did like the first one, and I've heard that the other books in the series are even better than the first one, this is my pick that I'm hoping will kind of be a safe bet that I already am pretty certain that I'm going to enjoy. And for that reason, I think I'm going to be keeping that for last in my TBR, just so we can like end things on a positive note in case the other 2 don't go so well, but we'll see. And then I want to read God of Malice by Rina. I know Rina is a huge author within the dark romance and I believe possibly also like mafia romance space, and she has a ton of books, and I've heard a lot of good things about this series. So this is again the first book in a series of interconnected books. Pretty much all I know about God of Malice is that it also has a university setting, and we are following people I think who are from rival universities potentially. And then last but not least, I want to read Beautiful Fiend by Lola. And I actually really know nothing about the plot of that one. I'm pretty sure I just like heard about it in someone's recommendation video for dark romance. And I remember thinking that it sounded kind of good, and I've never read anything by Lola and haven't heard a ton about her, like not as much as Rina, but it seems like she has some series that people are into as well. So those are the 3 books that I'm going to be attempting to read this week. I am going to be starting with God of Malice because I actually already got started with it on my Kindle. And yes, I will be reading all these on my Kindle. I do not own these books physically. And I will say that God of Malice is really wild so far. And I'm just gonna put in a disclaimer now. I probably should have put this disclaimer way earlier, but dark romance as a genre has a ton of triggers within it. So there are going to be things like non-con, dub-con, all sorts of kinks and other things that might be triggering to people. So if any of that is upsetting to you, please don't watch this video. I don't want to upset anyone by talking about these topics. And if you feel like dark romance is just not for you, feel free to click away. I will be talking about the plots of these books, so I don't want to trigger anyone. And if you are going to read dark romance, please look up the trigger warnings beforehand if that is something that concerns you. So my beginning with God of Malice, I've only gotten about 10% or 15% of the way in, I believe, and it's crazy. I had never read a book with non-con before, I don't believe, and the very first scene of God of Malice has non-con between the two main characters, or who I'm assuming are going to be the two main characters. So that was a little wild. It was a little jarring. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. It was a lot. It was intense, and I don't know how to feel about it. But I am continuing because we're here for the ride. We're gonna see what happens with this story. I'm not passing any judgment at this point. I'm just going to see what happens next. And so after that kind of intro scene, we have been introduced to the characters and find out that they go to two rival universities that are kind of in the same area, so they're right near each other. And the male main character, whose name I don't remember, I apologize, I need to read more. He is in like some sort of secret society within the rival university. So that's all I know so far, and we're gonna see where this ride takes us. So I will update you once I get a little bit more into this book. Hi vlog, I'm here with an update on God of Malice. I am all spruced up because, I don't know, I've just been feeling like doing my hair and makeup more often recently, and kind of inspired by TikTok. I feel like everyone is customizing their avatars so perfectly, and I have really been slacking on the chance to do that. I've got free will, I can customize my avatar, so here's the look for today. And today I just went to the gym earlier, and now I'm just chilling at home for a while, and then I'm going to a friend's housewarming party later, so I'm excited for that. But yes, back to God of Malice. So I got to about 55% yesterday, so I'm slightly over halfway through. And I honestly really don't know how to feel at this point. There has been, I think, 2 instances of non-con so far, and then a little bit of dub-con as well. And it's starting to move towards more consent. And yeah, I guess I just don't quite know how I'm feeling about it. It's something that isn't like triggering to me personally to read about, but I don't know. I feel like people seem to love this book, and I'm definitely not hating it, but I just am, I don't know if I see the point here. Killian is like a true psychopath. Like, he does not feel any emotions, but he is extremely good at, I guess, like fitting into society and like picking up on other people's emotions and fitting into the mold of like what society wants him to be. And so he's able to kind of fly under the radar because of that, but at his heart he's a true psychopath and like wants to kill people basically, but he holds himself back. Glyndon, she is an artist, and she is from like also a very influential family. They're both from like rich influential families, and yeah, she's a lot more like soft and I would say like somewhat emotional. I don't know, I feel like I haven't really gotten to know Glyndon's character that well. Like, I don't feel like I have a strong sense of her personality besides her reactions to Killian's actions, which is interesting. And he is like extremely obsessed with her, and he normally is not really about, he's not like a one woman type of guy, and he's not really about romance at all. as you can guess, as him being a psychopath, but for some reason he's really obsessed with Glendon. And that's one part that I've been struggling with a bit, is like I can't quite, I guess, get why he's so obsessed with her. Not that there's anything wrong with her, of course, but it's just like, what is triggering this? And I think there's a few parts to it, perhaps. She somewhat understands him. Like, I think she kind of accepts the fact that he's a psychopath and doesn't try to fight it. Like, and she has a brother who's also a psychopath, so she understands this like lack of emotion and like sees him as he is. And I think that that is appealing to him, to not have to hide who he is in front of her. And obviously he likes the chase. He likes that she wants nothing to do with him, and that she is like somewhat terrified of him, but she doesn't back down. Like, she still talks back to him and tries to fight, even though he's like basically like, you're mine and there's nothing you can do about it. And she definitely fought a lot in the beginning, but now at the point we're at, we're realizing like she is actually like really quite into him, more so than she wants to admit, and even into his actions. And obviously that doesn't make like the non-con that happened before okay, but she definitely is enjoying their situation to some extent, while she's also at the same time hesitant about it and doesn't want to admit that she likes him. And she is like trying to tell him that she hates him and all this, but yeah, her actions say otherwise. And there's also a little bit of a mystery going on. It's like honestly such a subplot, I keep forgetting that it's happening. So that's kind of in the picture as well. And then we have the aspect of the secret society coming in, which I think is like a core part of this series, is that in their secret society, these guys have like an initiation for people into their society. And it sounds like it changes every year, but it's extremely brutal. And in this case, they basically like hunt down people while they're wearing like purge masks, and they can do like anything they want to them besides like purposely killing them. And they're like extremely brutal and violent, and anyone who escapes and like doesn't get captured or injured basically can be initiated into their club. So the whole group of guys that Killian is friends with and who's in this secret society with him are all extremely violent and I guess just kind of on the fringe of society a little bit. And yeah, I know this series does, I think, follow the different guys in this society. So yeah, I guess I'd just be curious to know, I guess, more about what each of their deals is, because I don't think all of them are psychopaths in the way that Killian is, but for some reason they're all like so drawn to this violence and like crave it. And yeah, it's very interesting. I guess I just don't really know how to feel. Like I said, I'm enjoying my reading experience. Some of the spicy scenes have been quite fun, I will admit, or enjoyable, despite the dubious consent at sometimes. So if you're into that, I think it could be worth it. As for the romance itself, I don't know how I feel about it yet, and I don't quite feel like it's really making sense or feeling believable to me at this point, but I'm interested to see how these characters change throughout the second half of the story and see if I become more invested in their relationship. Hey vlog, I have an update on my reading. So I did end up finishing God of Malice yesterday, and to be honest, I'm still torn on a rating, so I'm just gonna kind of talk it out and hopefully that will help me think of something as we're chatting about it here. Since the last update I had given you, the relationship developed quite a bit more. There was a lot of consent from that point onward, or for the most part, things were consensual from about the 50% point onward. The plot picked up a lot, so it was no longer just about the romance. There was another plot going on with the secret societies that are on the campuses that this series takes place. And I really enjoyed all of the additions of the side characters interacting, both Glendon's friends and Killian's like friends and people who are in his society. And so I thought that the addition of like the other characters being more involved in the plot was really fun. and I did think the plot was quite interesting and it got me like really curious. We also heard more from Killian and Glyndon's families, and I liked that addition as well. I believe that Rina Kent has written books about the parents and that this is like actually a second gen series. So there was a lot of other characters to be interested in, a lot of side characters that I think have their own books. And I really like that aspect because it actually caught my attention a lot more. I feel like if I had just been reading this and not making a video about it, I probably would have just been like having a fun time and enjoying it. But I think because that I am talking to y'all about it, I'm a little bit more critical of what was happening in the book and a little bit more focused on, I guess, the issues that I have with it. So one issue that I noticed is, or like one thing that I guess kind of rubbed me the wrong way, was at some point Killian is talking to Glyndon about why he's so obsessed with her and why she's special to him. And he says like that he's always needed so much to get him excited or interested, and that he's had to do all sorts of crazy things and be involved in like really intense kinks and things. And then he says like, oh, but you're different. Like when I'm with you, I don't need any kinks and like I can just enjoy things normally basically. But I was a little bit put off by that because I guess for two reasons. The first reason is that their spicy time was definitely kinky. So I was like, Killian, what are you talking about? Like you're not just doing some vanilla stuff together. You know what I mean? Like it was kinky still. I guess like maybe less so than like what he was referring to before, but I was like, I mean, what you're saying is just not exactly true. And then my second issue with it was that I feel like it was almost kind of implying that if you like are really interested in someone, that you don't need to be participating in any sort of kinks, or that like people who are into different kinks are like missing something from their lives or like looking to fill some sort of gap in their relationships. And I kind of had an issue with that. I feel like that's not a great thing to imply, and that's just not the case. Like obviously people can do whatever they want just because it's fun, as long as they are like consenting adults and that they are being safe. And so I didn't love those kind of like, I felt like it was almost kink shaming a little bit, but then again, like they were still involved in kink, so that just wasn't the case. I don't know, that was just confusing to me and had me thinking a little bit. Not a huge issue, but yeah, I was a little confused. Once Glyndon got more interested in Killian, kind of was accepting their relationship, I did think that they were quite cute. Of course, I loved how protective he was of her, and their nicknames for each other, like she called him my monster, and I just thought that was kind of cute. And I don't know, I'm really torn on rating because I did enjoy it, and I've realized I think that dark romance is potentially more enjoyable for me than contemporary romance, because I tend to get really bored reading contemporary romance and I just am not enjoying it because I don't care about the plot and the characters have to be like super spectacular for me to be into it. But with dark romance, I am noticing that there is more plot, and I appreciated that this book actually did have a romance. Like they went on dates. I mean, they were like Killian's twisted ideas of dates, but they were dates nonetheless. I think that dark romance I've read in the past has been more just kind of focused on like smut only, and there hasn't been much plot, or if there was plot, I thought the plot was pretty uninteresting. So I did like the plot and the romance of this. I think it's one of those things where if you're going to read dark romance, you just need to know ahead of time that there is that non-con and dub-con in the book, and go into that accepting it. Like if you're not interested in that, if you know that's going to make you upset, just like point blank, do not read the book. Because I don't know, I see a lot of reviews of people online like tearing this book apart because of the non-con, which I understand to some degree, but I also feel like the way this book is written is not like promoting like sexual assault or anything like that. I feel like if it was written in a different way, or maybe from a man's perspective, it might have been. But I feel like at the end of the day, the book is fiction. It is about fantasy. And yeah, I think that you kind of have to remember that and take these books with a grain of salt, knowing that like obviously people don't want these things to actually happen to them as they're written in the books. It's just an entertaining read, and although Killian is a terrible person who does terrible things, you could still enjoy reading about their relationship, and that like, you know, you can separate the fiction from reality. So I just think that in order to read dark romance, you need to be able to do that, which I definitely feel like I can. I just want to put that out there because I just feel like dark romance has gotten quite popular on the internet, and I think that it's 100% not for everyone, and people need to know what to expect and know ahead of time whether they're going to be okay with those things or not. Honestly, considering all of this, I feel like I'm probably going to give it a 3-star because I had a really fun time reading it, and I did enjoy the characters and I enjoyed the plot, but I also had some issues with it. Now, the issues weren't so big that it's like I can't stand the book. The issues were small things. Like I said before, I knew about the non-con, that was not the issue. It was some of the other things that were implied, and that I just like don't think it's something I would reread, or I'm not like obsessed with it. So I think it's gonna be a 3-star because that's just kind of like, I enjoyed it, that's it. Not like a love. So 3 stars it is. Then last night I also started Beautiful Fiend by Lola King. Now this is interesting so far. I think I saw Larry Reed's talk about this in a video, or like on Goodreads, and she reads a lot of dark romance, and she said that this was like one of the darkest books she's ever read, and I probably should have paid attention to that, or I should have paid attention to that more before I started reading, because it definitely was dark right off the bat. Like I said, God of Malice does have non-con in it. Beautiful Fiend does as well, but I found it to be quite a bit more disturbing. So both of the books do have like an initial scene between the main characters that is non-con, and in God of Malice, I was quite shocked by that just at the start because I hadn't read a book that had that before, but that was like the main emotion I was feeling. I guess was just like kind of surprised that that was like right off the bat, or unsure how to feel about it. But in Beautiful Fiend, the way that the non-con is done, my emotion that I felt was mainly disgust. Like I was disgusted with what was going on. It was kind of horrifying. So it definitely felt different than the way it was done in God of Malice, and comparing the two male main characters right away. I can't remember the character's name. I think his name was Carson, maybe, in Beautiful Fiend. He seems like much less likable than Killian, which is, you know, strange to say because Killian is a psychopath and talks about how he wants to kill people, but he's somewhat funny, he could be charming, he has his different sides to him, you know. So far with the main character in Beautiful Fiend, we have not seen any sort of redeeming qualities to him, at where I'm at about 20% of the way through. I'm quite disturbed by him at this point, but I am interested to see how that might turn around, because I do think that there could be progression in this book, and I'm just excited to see how it changes. And the plot of Beautiful Fiend, at least so far, is basically this town that has these rival gangs, and of course we have our female main character and our male main character on two different sides of the gangs, and that's kind of where we're at so far. So I look forward to reading more of Beautiful Fiend and letting you guys know what I think. Hello. So I am about 75 or 70% through Beautiful Fiend, so I thought it was about time that I give y'all an update. And I feel like I am unfortunately not enjoying this as much as I did enjoy God. So I think I mentioned before that like when I started Beautiful Fiend, that right off the bat, the like intro scene where there was non-con was quite disturbing. and that wasn't like an absolute no to the book for me, but it kind of like set the scene where I feel like the book is a lot more intense in general. So basically the plot is that they're like living in a small town and there are these two rival gangs. Really, the female main character, she is in the North Shore crew, and then Caden King, the male main character, he is in the King's gang. And so it's like very dramatic, very like West Side Story, Romeo and Juliet type of vibes. And there's like a ton of crime in this town. Everyone is very poor, and it's honestly like quite sad. And I think that's part of why I'm struggling with the book, is that I don't love books that are super sad. Usually I struggle to stay like focused on reading something when it's sad. When like say with this book, I just am like not that invested from this, and then it's like sad right from the start. It's a little bit more challenging for me to get into. So that's just kind of a personal thing. And then I do feel like Killian from God and Malice, while he was a psychopath, he was honestly like so funny and kind of just like very entertaining. And he didn't really feel like a very realistic person, I guess. Like I don't think that there's really anyone out there that is like Killian Carson in real life, where he's like a true psychopath, but it's also like funny and fun to be around at times. It's just not realistic, but it was fun to read about, and he was a really fun character, and a good love interest if you are okay with dark romance and those different triggers that are in that book. But I feel like with Caden King, he feels a little bit more realistic to me in a way that's a little bit more challenging to digest, because he is maybe sort of a psychopath as well, but I would say it's more due to his upbringing and like just the lifestyle that he leads. He's not like completely devoid of emotion and like wanting to be a serial killer the way that Killian is. He's like pretty, I guess, used to death and doesn't mind like killing people and stuff, but that's because of his position within his family's gang. And he ultimately does want to leave the town. So his backstory is quite sad as well, and that's part of why he's just like such an interesting character, is that he is really fucked up and does incredibly fucked up things, but he's also like, his story is quite sad as well. And then Billy, our female main character, she has like basically trauma from Caden in the past, and she also wants to leave the town, and all she wants to do is become a professional fighter. She does like MMA fighting, and she is like that, she puts her heart and soul, like everything into that. And as like Caden gradually becomes more obsessed with her and like doesn't want to let her go, he does end up like blackmailing her, and they end up spending more time together because of that. Like I said, like she literally has past trauma from him and like is like very triggered by him in the beginning, but at the same time she like is somewhat magnetized to him, and I guess like pretty quickly like starts to enjoy his company and like doesn't want to admit it. But I mean, it's hard because in both God of Malice and Beautiful Fiend, it feels like when these women start to enjoy being around the male main character, it is like the men have done awful things to them in the first place. So it feels like this kind of like, I don't know what the word to say it. There would probably be like some sort of term for it, but like almost like a Stockholm syndrome type of thing, or just like, you know, it's like clouding their judgment and changing their perception. But the way that it is with Glendon and Killian feels a lot like less intense. Like I never felt like Glendon was like that scarred by Killian. Like, of course, the things that happened between them in the beginning were fucked up, but she, like, it wasn't like the biggest deal or like a huge life-shattering moment to her. And so that made it feel more realistically like there could be some sort of romance there. Whereas with Caden and Billy, like the things that he does to her, it's like every time that she has any shows any sort of emotion towards him after that, I just can't stop thinking like it's because like he's abused her. You know, like it doesn't feel like a realistic romance separate from that abuse. So yeah, it's just like pretty fucked up, honestly. And I'm not like mad about it because obviously that's what I signed up for with a dark romance, but between the fact that I'm like not totally loving their relationship and it's like getting increasingly sad. Actually, where I'm at right now, about 70%, they're like kind of happy together at the moment, but I feel like something's about to happen, like something huge and life-shattering. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like they can't be happy. There has to be something dramatic between their gangs, or more dramatic than has been already. So I'm just kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop with it. And I mean, my opinion could definitely change from here, but right now I am, yeah, not loving it, but also not hating it. So we'll see where it goes from here. Hey guys, so I am coming to you with an update, of course, on my reading, and I finished Beautiful Fiend, and I have so many mixed thoughts, honestly, but I feel like my opinion slightly improved from before. Like, I feel like when I was about 70% of the way through, I was thinking probably a 2-star, but I think where I'm at now with finishing the book, I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. So to kind of go over what happened, or like not what happened, but why my opinion improved, is that in the last quarter of the book, the actual romance felt way stronger to me. Like, I feel like in the first 3 quarters, I was not that invested into their relationship, but in the last quarter, I felt a lot more invested. I felt like I finally cared about their characters more. Like, there were parts that made me feel a lot of emotions, and yeah, it was like really effective in grabbing emotions. I didn't cry, but I felt like I almost could at the end of it, which is kind of crazy because I normally don't cry that much when I read, but it almost got me actually, so it was quite dramatic at the end. And seeing the characters together really did make me giggle and kick my feet and feel happy about their relationship. But that like level of enjoyment that I was having at the last part of the book is not the same experience I had for the first part of the book. And I think that for a romance, and a romance that was quite long, I don't know how many pages, but I feel like it's on the longer side, I shouldn't have to get to the 3rd quarter of the book in order to care about the romance, right? It's a romance book. I know there's a lot of other heavy plot to do with the gangs going on in this book, but I really should have been feeling more emotions towards the characters from the start. And of course, that is just a personal thing, right? I'm sure there's tons of people who've read this and like have that immediate connection and care about the relationship, but I just didn't. And ultimately, you know, I rate on my own enjoyment, so I didn't get that connection till the end. Liked the ending. The rest of it was a bit of a slog, slow at times in my opinion. Lots of drama, which, as I talked about previously, sometimes too much drama can kind of overwhelm me. So 2.5 stars. I definitely preferred God of Malice so far out of the 2 that I've read in this vlog, but Beautiful Fiend was also enjoyable, like a little bit below average perhaps for me, but enjoyable. And I thought it was really interesting and super different from anything I'd ever read. So last but not least, I will be reading The Truths We Burn by Monty J, which is the 2nd book in the Hollow series. And this is interconnected standalones, so I will not be spoiling any of the 1st book by giving y'all kind of the setup here. But I did start that last night, and I really enjoyed the 1st book, so I'm hopeful that this is going to be the dark romance that gets my attention the most in this vlog and gets me above a 3-star perhaps. So in this series, we're following this group of 4 guy best friends. They live in this small town, and they are basically children of the richest people in this town. So they are like very affluential, like richer than rich, like it's extreme wealthiness. They have a lot of power and sway. Oh, hello, Nelly. They have a lot of power and sway in the town. They're able to really get out of most things, but they all, for the most part, pretty much have bad home lives. And as a result of that, and like just their personalities, the 4 of them are all extremely destructive in different ways. But so they're kind of like the pariahs of this town, where everyone is kind of either obsessed with them, also afraid of them, thinks they're hot, thinks they're terrifying, like all of the above. And each book in the series is a romance of a different guy. So in this one, we're following Rook, and Rook is kind of his background, his deal is he's a pyromaniac and loves to commit arson. Okay, so that's issue number 1. His thing number 2, which isn't necessarily like, this is not a crime, but he is a masochist, so he enjoys pain being inflicted on him, not necessarily in a sexual sense. In fact, like I haven't even gotten anywhere near anything like that in the book, but in just a general sense, like it helps him calm down. He gets enjoyment and relief from his emotions through pain being inflicted on him. It's like something that he seeks out, you know, like he wants to get in fights that he can be hurt, that sort of thing. So those are kind of his issues. He has like a super poor relationship with his father as well. Our love interest, her name is Sage, and she is a twin. That's not really that relevant, but her twin is also related to the series. But Sage is like the, I guess, like overachieving older sister, where her parents have pretty much given up on her twin, and so they put all of their attention onto Sage, and their sole focus is on, you know, Sage being perfect, basically. So she's under this extreme amount of pressure from her parents. She feels so much resentment towards her twin because she feels like she gets to do whatever she wants, while Sage is, you know, basically locked in this prison cell of like what her family and what this town wants her to be. And so she's grown really thick walls due to this, and basically completely hidden away her own person, her own interests, and she really plays up this image of being like the perfect popular girl. So she's got a little bit of a mean streak to her due to this. She is like a cheerleader, homecoming queen, all of that stuff. And as we're opening here, she does have a boyfriend already, but they are having some issues. She, at this point, doesn't know what to do and flees. And mind you, her and Rook, they do not have a good relationship. Like, first of all, they barely know each other, but when they have interacted in public, they are like going at it with each other, like yelling at each other. They do not get along, and Sage is not afraid to talk back to him, at least so far from what we've seen. And I feel like that's something that's like different for him. And he, what does he call her, like my poison Barbie or something like that? I forget what it is, like behind her back, that's what he's calling her. And they definitely have like some sexual tension, and they have this encounter where Rook is basically like threatening her, and Sage realizes that it gives her some form of freedom or relief, feeling like, you know, someone else is in control for a moment. She doesn't have to be completely in control. So as soon as she runs into this disruption with her boyfriend, she goes and runs to Rook, and that is as far as I've gotten. I actually don't even know like what happens once they get together, but I'm so excited to continue. So far I'm really enjoying it, and I'm about 20% of the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yes, 20%. I'm having a fabulous time so far. I love Rook so far, and I can't wait to see the relationship progress. Hey vlog, I'm here for the final update. I finished reading The Truths We Burn last night, and I really liked it. Definitely my favorite out of the 3 that I read for this vlog, and I'm so happy that I included it. I feel like the series, which is called the Hollow Boys series, is turning out to be something that I really enjoy, and it's kind of a gem for me in the dark romance genre. So I think that I'm gonna give The Truths We Burn 4.5 stars. Yeah, I think 4.5 stars. It's not quite a 5-star, but I really liked it. The characters are just, they're so good. I love like the found family of all the boys, the friends in that series, and Rook, he was just such a hot book boyfriend, to be honest. And like they were always describing him of how he smelled like smoky and like weed, and like he just is very appealing, like even the way he talks. And I am such a sucker for like the emo like emotionally damaged guy thing, and he was definitely that without doing anything that I felt was abusive towards our main character, Sage. There was a point where they were at conflict. It's kind of like enemies to lovers to enemies again. During a point where they're enemies, he is like ruthlessly mean to her, and honestly she kind of is to him too. That's part of what makes it so good, is like they both have such intense personalities. And yeah, I just love their banter. The subplot that's going on is like this murder mystery situation with like kind of a crime ring that the whole town is involved in, and it is really, really good, well done. The plot of that has me on like the edge of my seat. I again love how all of the boys are so supportive of each other, and it was really great to see Sage start to befriend the girls we met in the first book and become friends with them and like kind of form their own family as well. So I just loved it. There was honestly, it was such a good mix of plot and smut. Like it was not too much at all. There was a lot of plot heavy points, and I would say like almost similar to like maybe a fantasy romance in like the ratio of plot and smut. The chemistry between Sage and Rook was just off the charts. Like I was obsessed with them. I like needed to know what happened to them. So I feel like that's why it really got me, is that the characters, you know, they got me. I feel like they were really well written, and the tension between them was so believable and so intense that it just really reeled me in and made me want to keep reading. So I'm definitely going to be continuing that series. Honestly, I had so much fun doing this vlog. I might even continue the other two series as well. I don't even know what the series are called for the other two books, but they are part of series. And even though I didn't like those other two as much, I feel like I can see potential for all of them just like to be a fun time. Like honestly, all of these books were just such a fun time for me to read, and so different from what I normally read, but in the best way. So I've had such a good time with you guys this week reading all the dark romance. I'm curious to know if you are a dark romance reader. What are some of your favorite series? Please put me on, let me know. And if you haven't read any dark romance, do you think you might try it? I'm intrigued. Obviously, as I said before, it's not for everyone, but the girlies that get it, and it's a fun time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.